a sculptor. He carved the marble on the buildings of the Capitol. When my grandpa left his homeland, he brought along his violin. Now he pours his friends another whiskey, and they sing about their dear Dublin. We can't forget where we come from. We can't forget where we come from. We can't forget where we come from. Sweet Poland for a house on old Broadway. She worked hard, alright, but every Saturday night she danced till the break of day. My grandma came from Germany as a baby before the First War. She was a little redhead and all the neighbor children said she's the one who caused that old war. We can't forget where we come from. We can't forget where we come from. We can't forget where we come from. He wooed her in the Spanish tongue. Now they've got a little dark-eyed bambino, and the story has just begun. Everybody's got a story, I'm not the only one. So tell your story proudly, remember where we come from. We can't forget 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 where we come from.
Good morning, city. Oh, blow me, will you? Just blow me. Huh? Come on, blow me. I'm getting tired of looking at you. Blow me already. Get out with your good morning crap. Blow me. Blow me. Blow me already. I'm getting a little tired of listening to you. Blow me. Get tired of looking at you. Blow me. Hello, friends. Back again for yet another piece of torture and suffering. Well, maybe not torture and suffering, but at least some enlightenment here on the program here, because I'm back again, and the professor of all knowing things here in Buffalo, about to educate you once more time on the state of Buffalo radio around here, and the local music scene, any other thing I can come up with at one time here. And I want to just state that I'm happy to be here, and I'm hoping you folks will pay more attention this time, and I hope I can be a little more clear on some of the things I said in my second television program, which wasn't as clear as I should have made it, so I hope I got a few points out during the course of that, so I apologize if I didn't get it all out for you in a way that you could understand it somewhat. I'm going to try to clarify that some more here. So we'll get the ball rolling here pretty quick. And I'm going to get the ball rolling right off the bat here with, once again, targeting my attack on my favorite radio station right now, not Kiss My Ass 98.5. They're over here saying they're the #1 hit station. Oh yeah, they're #1, alright. For me to poop on? Yeah. How about if we smear a little Dijon mustard on it and make it even better? For me to gray poop on? I mean, they want to call themselves the #1 hit station. Oh yeah, let's have a little celebration for it. Let me lift my leg and give you the single-digit salute. Yeah, here's your #1 right here, you bastards. Hypocrite, evil motherfuckers. Saying you support Buffalo. Liars. Now let me talk again about Kiss My Ass 98.5 and all these other so-called Buffalo radio stations here. I mean, according to this report here from the Kiss My Ass 98.5, you know, they have no moral or legal obligation to support local music. To play music by Buffalo and West New York musicians on their Buffalo radio stations. They said they have no moral obligation. Let me clarify something if you weren't able to pay attention to my last show too carefully on this. Let me see if I can clear what I said here. Now, why would a moral city like Buffalo support a blatantly immoral radio station like Kiss My Ass 98.5? Let me repeat that again. Why would a moral city like Buffalo support an immoral radio station like Kiss My Ass 98.5? Let me repeat that again. Why would a moral city like Buffalo support an immoral radio station like Kiss My Ass 98.5? Let me repeat that again. Why would a moral city like Buffalo support an immoral radio station like Kiss My Ass 98.5? Then they say they have no legal obligation. Let me ask you a question, Buffalo. When has it become illegal to support Buffalo in Buffalo? When? Let me repeat that again. When has it become illegal to support Buffalo in Buffalo? Nothing like making Buffalo a minority in its own home, and whoever listens to the minority. This is the city of good neighbors. This is the city of no illusions. If you people can't be a good neighbor to your own musicians and your own people in your own backyard, you got no business being a good neighbor to all these people who are the enemies of Buffalo. Charity begins at home. The buck starts and ultimately ends here. This is where it begins and ultimately ends. You can't just abandon Buffalo just and then think you can support Buffalo. Liars do not get into heaven. Most have to like the attitude of these oldies radio stations like 97 Rock, Oldies 104, and hell, let's use Kiss My Ass 98.5 and those other so-called Buffalo radio stations. This is basically their attitude. Okay, so we won't call Buffalo and West New York people, musicians, people, and whatever, supporters, we won't call them losers on these morning shows and these so-called comedy programs of theirs. We'll just call all the people, Buffalo and West New York, the musicians and the supporters of them, we'll call them losers during the other 20 hours of the day. Nothing like downsizing, huh? They might be scum, but they're practical scum. That is calling them losers. Pretending we don't exist won't make us go away, because there's always going to be somebody like me around to remind you about that fact. I was talking about Kiss My Ass 98.5. Now, as I said before, you know, they've been making some inroads here by playing 7 Day Faith, some of the songs from 7 Day Faith, but it turns out, you know, that 7 Day Faith is from the Niagara Falls, Niagara area, you know, and these radio stations, when I talk about these other, as soon as I talk about supporting Buffalo musicians, you know, all I ever saw in my first television program was the Goo Goo Dolls, you know. Didn't like showing the Goo Goo Dolls. That's great about playing the Goo Goo Dolls. If But how about playing other artists here? You seem to have forgotten other artists here that are from Buffalo and West New York, such as let me show you here, Anita Franco. When was the last time you played anything from that? She's a national artist here. She's also got a recording studio here in Buffalo, New York. And yet we hear nothing from Anita Franco on these so-called Buffalo radio stations. And how about the 10,000 Maniacs? When was the last time you played anything from them? As well as one of the musicians who was a featured artist on the 10,000 Maniacs and went on to a successful solo career, Natalie Merchant. How often do you play her music on your radio station? Or how about Brian McKnight? When was the last time Brian McKnight got recognized in Buffalo here? These are all national recording artists. How about the late Grover Washington Jr.? He's a jazz legend, for crying out loud. His music is known almost practically worldwide. Why don't you so-called Buffalo radio stations devote any time to playing his music on the air? Or for that matter, how about Spyro Gyra? These people have been on the air for 25 years. All across the world over here, yet they can't get recognized in radio stations in Buffalo, New York. And they're nationally known. I myself heard Spyro Gyra on Casey Kasem's American Top 40 over 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Make it 25 years ago. 25 years ago. And when the hell did these bastards ever play this music from Buffalo musicians here, And how about Peter Case? You don't know who Peter Case is? Well, he's a musician who got on David Letterman's show at least 3 separate occasions. And David Letterman is a national entity, which means he got national exposure. When was the last time any of these so-called Buffalo radio stations played any music from Peter Case? And how about Talas? Talas was on the verge of a national recognition before the bottom fell out for whatever reason. Why aren't they on the air? These people have gained a loyal following in Buffalo for the last 30 years already. And they had this little thing at the Area Base Marina about 3 years ago when Talas made a reunion show over there. They had a big crowd for that. When was the last time you played any music on these radio stations to show support for these people? Because WBNY would have, if they weren't so racist against national recording artists over here, they'd be putting these people on the air. And how about Joe Public? I mentioned the fact that Pilot Field, North America Park, the Buffalo Bisons, for that matter, when I mentioned them, they played one song by Joe Public. When was the last time they played Joe Public, And how about these so-called Buffalo radio stations? When was the last time they played anything from Joe Public? That's all these national recording artists here from Buffalo and Western New York, and they don't want to put them on the air. And the only time they put them on the air is when someone like me bitches about it. And then as soon as the bitching ends, that's the last time you hear anything from these Buffalo radio stations here who claim to support Buffalo and won't put these Buffalo musicians on the air. If you won't put the nationally known recording artists from Buffalo on the air, how can you possibly support recording artists that are not nationally known who are from Buffalo and Western New York? And this shows how racist and evil and prejudiced and discriminatory these so-called Buffalo radio stations are. And spare me all the bullshit excuses about why they do this stuff. Any excuse they make to try justifying this racism is just to support evil. And if you support evil, you're going to wind up going to hell with them. Because they've done nothing but lie and deceive and mislead the public. And God doesn't let deceivers and liars and misleaders get into heaven. And if you doubt that, you can check with any religious organization, and I'm pretty sure they'll verify that for you in no uncertain terms. Let me go back a little bit and backtrack a little bit here. Now, I realize Kiss My Ass has recently been playing a track from a group called 7 Day Faith. This is their current CD. This is the CD they've been out for a little while, and it's called Everything. Very good track. And all these people have done, all Kiss My Ass 98.5 has done by playing that track, is prove once and for all that I, myself, Anthony Violani, the Buffalo Common Council Radio Access Committee, the Buffalo News, and everybody else who supports the Buffalo music scene around here was right all along. If you play music by Buffalo and West New York musicians, good things start happening. And that was true because on Sunday, April 13th of 2002, I was just finishing attending a show by a Buffalo and West New York musician, a female by the name of Pamela Swartz. and I just happened to go home. I was heading on my way home, and I passed by the Big Shots bar on Chippewa Street. And there I heard 7 Day Faith being played. And since they figured this Kiss My Ass, My 9.5 is sponsoring, they figured it was alright. So, but I was wanting to support them anyway because they're a local artist. And I managed to go into there, and from the time I got in there for the next hour and a half that I was able to listen to that 7 Day Faith play, that dance floor was packed around the studio, where the stage where they were performing. Packed for a whole hour and a half. There was hardly any way you could move around there. There was that many people in there. And all that does done is prove once and for all that myself, Anthony Violani, who started this whole thing by printing these articles, the Buffalo Common Council Radio Access Committee, the Buffalo Music Collective, and everybody else associated with the Buffalo music scene around here was right all along. If you play music by Buffalo and West Eric musicians, the good things start happening around here. Now granted, I can't guarantee that if you start playing more music by Buffalo and West Eric musicians, that they're going to have the same amount of exposure that 7 Day Faith has gotten. And speaking of that, you see, Kiss My Ass 98.5 is still not off the hook on all this, because just because they promote one band, which by the way, 7 Day Faith is from the Niagara area, as far as I can remember. These people are from the Niagara area region. So basically all they're doing is just keeping them within the Niagara area. They still have no interest in supporting Buffalo, which by the way would be a better way of apologizing to the city of Buffalo by playing more music by Buffalo and West Eric musicians. That's the only way you're going to apologize to them, by starting to not only play these people, but do it with WBNY, the only radio station that supports Buffalo, does. WBNY is the only radio station that supports Buffalo that actually will play music by Buffalo artists on before the day of a concert. And they have this local show on Thursday nights from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. in prime time. Not one of these so-called Buffalo radio stations has the balls or the guts to even do something like that. And until they start doing something like that, you're going to be seeing a lot more of my pretty face.
Why is it this? And not having our government back us. Then and now. It's an open sore. It's festering to this day. It's not going away.
I think it's important that we do have an investigation. I would never give up on that.
Did you recently know? I just found out myself that Danny Neverth is no longer going to be on Oldies 104 anymore. Hooray! Ding dong, the witch is dead. Wicked witch, the witch is witch. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead. I'm happy, I can't be dumbed down too much, because after all, shortly after I made my first TV program, he seemed to have lightened up a little bit and softened his tone toward Buffalo and Western New York. He still won't play any music by Buffalo and West Eric musicians, but at least he made an attempt at it. Although, to be honest with you, he keeps playing oldies. He's been currently playing oldies. 104 has been playing music from the 60s and the 50s and all that. Yet I've never heard any songs from the Tweeds, Tallis, the Humans, the Rogues, the Invictas, Free Design, Tony Gallagher and the Rising Suns, Mellow Brick Road, The Road, Caesar and the Romans, featuring Chuck Vaccaro, who will later become known as Big Wheelie, Barbara St. Clair, Stan Zeleste, Vic Dana, Joni Summers, Neil Darrow, Nino Tempo and April Stevens, Kathy Lynn and the Playboys, of course Raven, who became a major institution but never reached that national status, and Eric Zanderson. You don't recognize all those people? Pfft, I'm not surprised. They're all from Buffalo. Why would Oldies 104 want to acknowledge that fact? And now, again. Why did Puny Human throw clock out window? So Puny Human could see if time could fly. Ho, 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 ho. Why did Hulk throw Puny Human out the window? To see if Puny Human could fly. Ho, 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 ho. Puny humans don't think Hulk's jokes are funny! And even if Buffalonians in Buffalo decide they want to do the right thing and support Buffalo the right way, and they try to request music like the Goo Goo Dolls, the Pine Dogs, God's Children, the Pinheads, and so forth. And they try to request these songs on these Buffalo radio stations. These Buffalo radio stations don't even have a copy of this stuff. And then they start saying, well, these Buffalo musicians won't give us a copy of their music. Why should they? If they know for a fact that you're not going to play all this stuff, if you're just going to bury it someplace till the feeling passes. Buffalo wants to be the next Seattle. Seattle is a forward-thinking city. It keeps museum things but builds for the future. Unlike Buffalo that wants to live in its relics and just wallow in its failures all the damn time. Then they also think that if they get rid of one form of prejudice, which they don't do, in the form of giving so-called minorities jobs and places of honor and things like that, if they think they can eliminate that area of prejudice, they can practice prejudice in other areas such as crapping on Buffalo and Western musicians. This mentality's got to stop once and for all. To continue here, I was talking about the State of Buffalo radio report here that you're now seeing. There's a little sidelight story I want to mention about this. You see, when I first got involved with this thing, I had a hard time trying to locate these people. And when I finally did try to locate them in the city hall, it took me forever and a day to get to attend one of their meetings. Mostly because they decided to have meetings. They wanted to wait until summer vacation was over. Well, you want to take the summer off and you think that these so-called Buffalo radio stations are going to wait for you. Not. Wrong. Buffalo, at a moment's notice, did finally attend these meetings here. All they ever did was sit and piss and whine and moan. I had to twist their arms, beat them across the head senseless, trying to get them to get this, just to get this report done. And when I finally did get this report done, all they did was sit around. They acted like this is the greatest thing since they discovered fire. And I told them at the outset, you got to do more with this report. This is your biggest weapon here. You can press charges, you can sue these companies, you can sue these radio stations, and you can have evidence to back your asses up. No, we don't want to attack them. They might get mad. They might attack us. They might hurt us. Gosh, we might offend them. They don't have any problem. These bad so-called Buffalo radio stations don't have any problem offending you anytime they want to feed their bellies. It's only fair to return the favor and on top of that, you'll have facts backing you up. Not these tissues of lies these bastards keep feeding all the goddamn time. But no, they sat there and they act like this is the greatest thing since dirt, and mouths off about it. I might not have known anything about this because I never bothered listening to their radio station to begin with. But then I found out. Then I passed by. I was living in a hotel at one time. I passed by the security officer, and they mentioned that the Oldies 104 mentioned my name on their radio station. And since I realized the reason that they had not been talking flattering about this thing, I obviously assumed that they're not going to be having anything flattering to say about me. I said, no, that ain't going to happen. I mean, you want to shit on David Franzak and all these other people, that's your business. But you shit on me, you declared war on Buffalo. And that's basically the sense what all these so-called Buffalo radio stations have done. They've now declared war. And from that point on, I've made it my major issue to make sure somehow, some way, all these Buffalo and Western musicians you've been seeing are going to get recognized in Buffalo the right way by playing music on these so-called Buffalo radio stations. Yes, imagine the nerve of an album rock station from Buffalo, no less, that won't play Green Jelly or the Pinheads or Pine Dogs or Jive Injection, who come from Buffalo and Western New York, by the way, on their so-called Buffalo radio station. What a silly idea we had to have Buffalo music by Buffalo musicians played on Buffalo radio stations here in Buffalo, New York. Gosh, whatever are we thinking about? How silly of us want to support Buffalo in this manner. It sure makes the people of Buffalo evil now, doesn't it? Great to have a classic rock station that has music to help remind Buffalonians of all those great championships that Buffalo had won in the 70s. Why don't you do some disco dancing? You should be losers, yeah! Losers, yeah! And how about all those people who pull up stakes in great places like Los Angeles, Dallas, and especially Miami, and moved into Buffalo just to tell us what a great bunch of winners, or is that whiners, that we have in Buffalo. Yes, sirree, Bob. It's great that a great classic rock station like 97 Blockhead would bring us such great memories of the glory days of Buffalo. Why give up all that just for Buffalo, just to support Buffalo music and musicians? Nah. As you now. Again. Why did Puny Human throw clock out window? So Puny Human could see if time could fly. Ho, 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 ho. Why did Hulk throw Puny Human out the window? To see if Puny Human could fly. Ho, 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 ho. Puny humans don't think Hulk jokes are funny? Story here I'm going to read. It's a little bit of a fable that was made up by one of the members. There's a good bearing to it here, and I have another story I would like to